Medieval torture. 7 brutal devices that horrify history. The renowned English historian James Anthony Froude once declared that wild animals never kill for sport. Man is the only one to whom the torture and death of his fellow creatures is amusing in itself. The medieval era stands as a testament to humanity's darkest creativity, producing torture instruments that combined horrifying beauty with unimaginable brutality. Today, we explore another collection of the most inventive methods medieval executioners used to inflict suffering. Chapter 1: The Terror of Rats. Musophobia, the extreme fear of rodents, affects millions today, but imagine if that fear became reality. Deep within the Tower of London lay the infamous Dungeon Among the Rats, a cell positioned below the waterline. Prisoners were chained in absolute darkness as rising tides brought contaminated water filled with waste and disease-carrying rats. When waters receded, the vermin remained, their tiny claws scratching across stone floors as they searched for fresh meat. The helpless prisoner, initially nibbling then tearing flesh in chunks, these filthy creatures left victims screaming in agony and terror. Medieval torturers understood that psychological fear proved as effective as physical pain when extracting confessions. The most horrific rat torture allegedly originated in ancient China. Naked prisoners were secured to tables while dome-shaped metal cages were placed on their stomachs. Hungry rats were trapped inside these cages, then hot coals were added to the top. Panicking rodents, desperate to escape the heat, would claw and bite through the prisoner's flesh, burrowing through skin and intestines while victims watched helplessly. Later variations used pottery bowls instead of metal cages, with similar devastating results. Chapter 2: The Heretic Fork. Catholic inquisitors wielded this 4-pronged metal device to combat heresy during medieval inquisitions beginning in 12th century France. The fork featured sharp spikes at both ends of a metal rod, secured around the victim's neck with leather straps. One end pressed against the soft chin flesh, the other against the hard breastbone. Torturers carefully selected fork lengths to maximize distress. Simple swallowing became excruciating torture. Victims maintained rigid positions with heads tilted backward, necks stretched impossibly. Any jaw movement drove spikes deeper into flesh. Sleep deprivation eventually caused heads to droop forward, piercing necks and throats with sharp prongs. This instrument served as preliminary torture, designed to encourage recantation rather than execution. It preceded more severe punishments in the Inquisition's methodical approach to extracting confessions. Chapter 3: The Spanish Horse. Originally called the wooden donkey in 12th century France, this triangular torture device featured a sharp-pointed top resembling a horse's back. Standing 6 to 7 feet high on 4 supporting legs, some versions included decorative horse heads and tails for psychological impact. Prisoners straddled the device with full body weight pressing against their most sensitive areas. Hours of positioning caused excruciating pain. Torturers enhanced suffering by tickling feet to induce movement or adding weights to legs, increasing downward pressure. When death was intended, victims remained until their sacral bones broke and bodies split completely. Chapter 4: The Pear of Anguish. This choke pear mechanism consisted of hard metal shaped like a fruit, featuring 3 or 4 expandable leaves controlled by a central screw key. Insertion location depended on the victim's alleged crime. Turning the screw expanded the device, causing pointed edges to rip throat tissues and create massive internal damage. Death resulted from blood loss or subsequent infections, as these instruments were never cleaned between victims. Museums across Europe display various examples, from crude designs to elaborately decorated bronze models, like the ornate piece housed in San Gimignano's Torture Museum. Chapter 5: The Saw. Reserved for crimes including blasphemy, theft, murder, adultery, and witchcraft, this execution method gained popularity during late medieval warfare, particularly in the Ottoman Empire. Prisoners were suspended upside down, slowing blood flow and prolonging consciousness during the ordeal. After hours of suspension and preliminary torture, sawing began at the genital area and continued toward the head. Sometimes executioners stopped at the abdomen to extend the dying process. Hungarian General Michael Szilágy experienced this fate in 1460 after Ottoman forces captured him as a spy. Similarly, during the 1463 Ottoman conquest of Lesbos, Commander Mahmud Pasha ordered 400 Knights Hospitallers sawn in half despite promises of clemency. Chapter 6: Water Torture Techniques. While dehydration dangers are well known, Overhydration or water intoxication proved equally deadly as medieval torture. French torturers forced between 3 to 16 pints of liquid down victims' throats using funnels and blocked nasal passages. Excessive water consumption disrupts electrolyte balance and brain function, causing unconsciousness and death. Gastric distension could burst stomachs, though torturers sometimes beat abdomens to induce vomiting and restart the process. Alternative liquids included urine and bile for additional humiliation. Spanish water torture resembled modern waterboarding techniques. Cloth was forced into victims' mouths while liquid poured over faces, creating drowning sensations. Spanish and Flemish inquisitions employed this method extensively. French poet François Villon endured this torture in 1462 before receiving commuted death sentences. He left Paris forever, reportedly broken in health and spirit. Chapter 7. The Intestinal Crank. This brutal execution method offered no reprieve once begun. Conscious prisoners were restrained while executioners made abdominal incisions large enough for hands to penetrate. The small intestine was separated from the stomach and attached to a mechanical crank with hooks. Slow crank rotation pulled entrails from living bodies while helpless victims watched in horror. Up to 18 feet of intestines could be wound around crankshafts. Deliberate slow turning maximized suffering duration. Death resulted from blood loss combined with extreme pain. No victim survived this process. Subscribe to our channel for more fascinating historical content and share your thoughts about these medieval practices in the comments below. Which torture method shocked you most?